many messages. So share to Shaisa. Yeah. So self-pollination refers to the in general, pollination refers to the transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma. Now, self-pollination is transfer of anther to stigma. Transfer of pollen from anther to stigma. If it is the same flower, that is within the same flower, if it has anther and stigma, that is called as autogamy. And if the flower is something different but on the same plant, that will be called as geitonogamy. So that is transfer of pollen grain from one flower to another flower of the same plant onto its stigma, that is geitonogamy. And of course, cleistogamy, if you remember, if the flower is closed, it doesn't have any other option than pollinating its own stigma. So the anther will fall onto the stigma, which is lying very close to each other due to the flower being closed. So that cleisto word means closed, gamy means the gamete or the fusion. So that way the cleistogamy works, where the flower is in closed situation and then the pollination happens. Now, two conditions we had seen for self-pollination, that the flower being bisexual flower, that means either it needs to have both the reproductive structure, that is androecium and gynoecium, or male and female reproductive structure, or if it is unisexual flower, it has to have the flowers on the same plant. That is means male unisexual flower, that is staminate flowers, or the female unisexual flower, that is carpellate or pistillate flower. They have to be present on the same plant. I hope you remember these terminologies from the last chapter: carpellate, pistillate, or staminate flower. And another important point for self-pollination to happen was the anther and stigma, they must mature at the same time point. And if they don't mature at the same time point, otherwise the anther will go wasted if they are pollinating first, or the stigma will go waste if the stigma is maturing first. Because if they are not maturing at the same time, they will not be able to proceed for fertilization. So this is what we had seen earlier. Now, coming to the advantages and disadvantages of the self-pollination. Now, self-pollination happens for sure in bisexual flower if the anther and stigma mature at the same time. That is the advantage, because if they are maturing at the same time, there is higher chance that they will pollinate itself, and that way fertilization can happen later. Parental characteristics are preserved indefinitely. Now let me ask you here, what does it mean by parental characters, they are preserved indefinitely? Who would like to say that? What would be that? What would that statement mean in terms of self-pollination? The second point. Yes, Ishan, go ahead.
Like the new seeds, the plants which will be generated from the new seeds will look exactly like the old plants.
Okay, that is preservation. But what about this indefinitely part? Why should it go on indefinitely?
So maybe to prevent like them to get damaged or something.
Now think in terms of self-pollination. What happens in self-pollination and how it will preserve it indefinitely? The characters, I mean. People, speak up, speak up. Even if it is wrong, it's okay, but just speak something.
You're saying like how the parental characteristics will be preserved?
Yeah, for indefinite period of time.
Oh, because it's self-pollination, so that means it's on the same plant or the same flower. So then there's like very less chance of like a different gene coming in.
Correct. That is what I exactly wanted. So in case of human, what happens is a male and female gametes, they are fused. So a male will look differently, a female will look differently, and the offspring, which is the third individual, will obviously look different because it's a combination of mother and father, right? In this case, it's a self-pollination. That means the anther, they will have certain genes which are dictating certain characters. For the stigma will have, or the ovule will have certain genes which are dictating certain characters. Now if they are fusing with each other, they will have everything like their parents, because the male is also from the same plant, the female is also from the same plant, right? The flowers, I mean. So if the same genetic characteristics are being transferred to them, they will ultimately show the parental characters. And this process will go on, because every time when the new offspring is formed, it is undergoing the self pollination. So that way it will always produce the same kind of species indefinite number of times. So that is what is the meaning of this statement. The parental characters, they are preserved indefinitely. Third point, there is no or less wastage of the pollen grains, or even the small quantities of the pollen grains should be sufficient. So what does this mean is, again, now because the self pollination actually does not need any other external agent, and the anthers, they have to fall just on the stigma which is nearby to the one flower or within the same flower. So that way there is no much pollen grains which are required for pollination process and fertilization process. And that is why it is saying there is no or less wastage. On contrary, in cross pollination, what happens is wind will take away the pollen grains with it, and then it will go and deposit on some other flower. Or insects will take the pollens from one flower, they will go and put it on some random flower, and one of the flower will be of the same species, if at all. So that way the wastage of the pollen grains happens quite a lot. And it is not that it is a wastage as such, but because the plants do need certain energy to produce these pollen grains. So that energy, that whole process and time also goes for waste. And that is why it is being said like even a small quantity of pollen grain is sufficient here. Flowers need not be large or showy. In what case do the flowers needs to be large and showy? What are the conditions? In which type of pollination you think?
Cross pollination, because they have to attract
Yeah.
insects.
Right, insects or birds or whatsoever, whatever they are getting pollinated to, or even if it is happening with the air, that is with the wind, then the flower has to be little large enough. If it is a small flower, wind will just blow away that flower
Yeah, the
itself.
surface area should be more.
Correct, correct, yeah. So that way the flowers need not be large, or need not be even kind of showy, so that they need not attract any other pollinating agent. Again, scent and nectar need not be produced, same factor, because they don't have to attract any insect or any pollinating agent, so they need not produce. And because of these factors, it is more economical for the plant. Economical as in terms of energy consumption, it is very economical, and plant then does not need more material to produce more nectar or scent or large petals or more pollen grain. That whole part is kind of scraped. And it is very very economical for a particular flower to just self pollinate. So these are various advantages of the self pollination. Now disadvantages. So first disadvantage says weakening of the variety or species. Now again I will ask you people, how do you think it will cause weakening of a particular variety or species? What do you think? Okay, I will come back to you, Ishan, and Shiv, you as well. I want others to speak first. Anandya also had spoken. Okay, anyone else apart from these three people? Sorry to hold you on. Anyone else?
Can you repeat the question once?
So I asked, what do you think is the meaning of this weakening of the variety or species, which is the disadvantage of self-pollination? Okay, go ahead, Pratham.
Yeah, maybe because it can't get used to the pollination of other species. So if it keeps self-pollinating, it can't get used to, so it'll get weak.
What do you mean by that? Getting used to?
Like it won't be like, how do I put it? I don't know.
Okay,
I think he's saying about evolution of the plant. Like if you breed with, like if you pollinate with some other plant, you'll get used to the surroundings if it changes and everything.
Yeah.
In a way, true. Anadya?
I actually had like a similar point. So like it won't have any change. So if the species keeps getting like the exact same every time, so there's not going to be any modifications to the plant. So yeah.
Okay, but then in that case, is modification in a plant is equivalent to strengthening of the variety? Is that the case? Ishan?
Yeah, so my point is similar to the before points, that if suppose the surrounding changes, like there's a change in temperature, then there are chances that these plants who conduct self-pollination might not be able to survive. And suppose there's a new virus, so which attacks those kind of things, so all of them will die. But if suppose they had a bit different genes, then there would have been a chance that those viruses couldn't have affected them.
Okay, in to some extent it's true. Shiv?
So like I think that like self-pollination is like to your own like yeah, like your pollen landing on a stigma of your like same plant, right, on your same flower, right? So I think that if the particular flower of the species dies, all right, then it can't, you know, uh reproduce anymore, because in cross pollination, if the same thing happens, you can do it, like you can, the pollen can land on another flower, so it won't stop for that particular flower.
Not
Like
really.
like the plant matters, I mean.
No, actually, the meaning of this is a little different than what you are saying, but that point is correct. Anyone else wants to add anything? People, anyone else? I hope I haven't missed anyone who has raised hand. Okay, so let me say it then. So usually what happens is weakening of the variety or species, it refers to that the same type of genetic material is being transferred across the generations, right? And that is what was the advantage of one thing. In terms of parental characters are preserved indefinitely. That means if the same genetic material is transferred, so same characters are also transferred through several generations. Now, over the time, plant genes, they undergo certain mutations. Can be good, can be bad. Assume if it is bad, good, so then surely no problem. But assume if it is bad in terms of it leads to certain weak phenotypes or weak characteristic within the plant. Let's say the number of flowers which are produced it becomes less, or the number of chlorophyll pigment which is produced in the leaf is less, or the plant height is reduced because of certain genetic mutation in that particular plant. Now these characteristics will be passed on throughout the generation, and the reason is because this is self-pollination. There is no involvement of any other genetic material. So whatever the plant had, it will go on. So including those weak characteristics, it will go on for generations. And we know the rule of the nature, right? That is survival of the fittest. The one which is stronger in terms of the survival rate, adaptation, and so on, will be able to survive for longer. So the weak varieties, ultimately through the process of natural selection, they will be eliminated and they might go extinct. So that becomes one of the disadvantages of the self-pollination, which is weakening of the variety or species. Have you understood this point? If not, you can ask questions as well. And one more example related to this I will give you here, but I guess I will give you at the end of these 4 points. So let me go to yes.
Could you explain that once more?
Okay, so what happens is, like we know, if it is self-pollination, that means anthers and stigma, they are of the same flower. The ovules, they are also of the same flower. So the whenever next generation offspring is produced, so that is the next generation of the seed is produced after the fusion of anther with the ovule, like after passing on through the stigma, fertilization will happen. It will produce the next generation seed. These seeds, when you sow it, it will have exactly same characters like parents. Now this is the indefinite progression or indefinite transfer of parental character. Now assume in these cases, if there are certain characteristics which are changed or what we call as mutated, or which were not good in the original plant itself, those characteristics will also be carried forever for very like quite a few generations, right? So in this case, the survival rate of that weakened plant species will be very less compared to the other better species, better healthy species, I would say. And that is why this weakening of the variety through self-pollination is a disadvantage. Now, if you have to sort out this problem, let's say a simple example I will give you. Let's say I have a garden in Palash where I have a jasmine plant and which has very few flowers on it, and that is a weak variety. Yeah, the the jasmine plant in my garden has a very few jasmine flowers, and the one which is in Sahyadri school garden has quite a lot of jasmine flower on one particular tree. Now, if I keep allow the self-pollination of my jasmine plant in the garden, it will always produce those less number of flowers. And at one time point, it may not even produce the flower because that plant is going to die sometime. On the contrary, the one in Sahyadri school garden will always produce more and more jasmine flower. Now, if I cross-pollinate these, my plant variety will be improved due to cross-pollination. But if it is only self-pollination, that variety is getting weakened over the time. Did you get this point now?
Yeah, sir.
Okay. So I hope the example made it more and more clear to you all. So that is the weakening of the variety or species. Yes.
But you can't, the plant can't help it, right?
Plant can't help it.
Yeah.
Plant has to go by the order of the nature.
Got it.
So the second disadvantage is poor seed quality, or it can also give rise to less vigorous offspring. Again, the same phenomenon. Due to certain weakened characteristic, the seed quality which will be produced will obviously be the poor, and it will give rise to the less viable offspring. That means the offspring, that is the next generation which will be produced by that particular plant, will not be able to survive for longer. And that is what is the another disadvantage. The third disadvantage is again a weaker or defective variety or breed cannot be eliminated. like in some cases, like I said, the plant will die, but that species, if it has produced enough pollen grains, that means those pollen grains, they will go around and they will pollinate the other plants, and other plants as in of the same species, right? And that particular genetic characteristic will be transferred to the same species of in the other plant, and those weak characteristics, they are ultimately getting transferred with those anthers. So that way, the variety or a breed cannot be eliminated, which is weaker in nature. Until and it doesn't happen, right? Let's say I have a particular species of brinjal which produces only 1 or 2 brinjal per plant. That is the weak characteristic. And now, because of the pollination, these pollen grains, they have spread all over, right? That is a weak pollen grains, if I can say them, right? And if they are going and pollinating other plants, other brinjal plants in the surrounding vicinity, you cannot eliminate that, because you never know to all which species, to all which brinjal plants the weak pollen grains they have reached. So that way it becomes very difficult to remove these or eliminate these species from the nature. Though nature has its own course of action that it will ultimately remove them, but that is like a very long process. It's like few thousands of years, and that we cannot really wait, at least not considering the human life, we cannot wait for that long time. So that is the weaker or defective species or variety or a breed cannot be eliminated. And the fourth point, which is a disadvantage, is it does not yield new varieties. So no change in genetic trait, so no improvement. If it is always and always self-pollinating, there will be no improvement. So that is one of the disadvantage as well. Okay, any questions here? And then I will tell you one example, which is something similar related to this one.
So could you just repeat the fourth disadvantage, like the third one, weaker or defective varieties cannot be eliminated?
Weaker or defective varieties cannot be eliminated. That means, like when you have a particular plant with certain weak characteristic, the pollen grains will also carry the same characteristic in terms of its genetic makeup. And if these pollen grains goes and pollinate certain plants of the same species, then they will be carrying those weak characteristics to those plants, and that way that weak characteristic is surviving through different generations, and that's why that cannot be eliminated. Did you get it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone? Okay, so if there are no questions, so the example that I want to share is related to human genetics, but it is kind of analogy to self-pollination. Now, I don't know if we discussed this earlier, but let's say in India, we have a tradition of, not tradition as such, but there are quite a few marriages which happens within the siblings, right? Like a little distant sibling, or sometimes even an immediate, not sibling, cousins, I mean. Yeah, so that way, if the marriages happen within the close relatives. Now, for example, I have a certain genetic disorder which has been passed on to me by my parents. And let's say I have an uncle whose daughter I am going to marry, right? Now, in that case, most likely the chance that because my father had this disease, my uncle will also have it, because both of them, they have the only one parent. So it's equal chance that my uncle also has the same disease which my father had, which is coming to me.
So the disease will strengthen.
Correct. And then if my uncle has it, then obviously his daughter will also have it, right? And if we are marrying, we are multiplying the disease by like 2 times, because I also have a particular genetic disease. My wife, whosoever that is, will also have that particular genetic disease, and then we are multiplying it by 2 times into the offspring, and then offspring development will be severely affected. So that is in similar analogy to self-pollination. Yes.
Then so the offspring will also reproduce and right.
Correct. So that is what is this weaker variety. You keep on passing those weak characteristic through several generations. But now, for example, in the same situation, I decide not to marry, or I just don't produce any babies, even if I decide to marry. Then in that case, the weak characteristic that I had in terms of my genetic makeup, I'm not passing it on to anyone, right? So that way, then there is a chance, or let's say we like I decided to marry someone who is like literally far away, not even close relative, not even related at all. Then there the chance of having this characteristic is reduced to half rather than getting double. Yeah, so that way it goes on diluting. So that is when the cross pollination is little better compared to self pollination, and the analogy is similar. Yeah, though we are talking of the sexual reproduction in human, in analogous situation with the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Okay, any question here? Okay, so if there are no question, if the silence says so, we will move on to the cross pollination and its advantages and disadvantages, and then I guess we will stop there. Yeah. So cross pollination, we already know now, it is the transfer of pollen grain from the anthers of a flower of one plant to the stigma of flower of another plant, but of the same species. That means it has to be, if it is mango pollen, has to fall onto the pollen grain of the stigma of the another mango tree. That trees can be different, plants can be different, but flower and the species, the species has to be same. Flower, tree, everything can be different. So that is what is cross pollination. And can anyone remember what was it called in terms of like that what was it?
Allogamy.
I just said it. I wanted to twist it, but I myself said it.
Yeah.
Fine. It is called as allogamy. So that is cross pollination. Now, in terms of advantage, whatever were the disadvantages actually will become advantages here. So healthier offspring. In self pollination, it was weaker offspring or weaker generation or weaker characteristic. Here in this case, due to cross pollination, because the better traits they come together, mostly better traits come together, and the weaker ones they fade away because of the dilution factor. Like I gave you an example of my own offsprings and so on. So that way they always produced healthier offspring compared to self pollination. Yes.
Sir, I have a question. So, are there more chances of self-pollination or cross-pollination happening?
Cross pollination has more chances.
No, self-pollination should have more chances. No, because it's the same plant.
Correct. Theoretically, yes. But then most of the flowers, sorry, what was your question again? And what did I say?
Sir, I asked which has more abundance of, which is more, cross-pollination or self-pollination? And you said cross-pollination happens more often.
Then my bad. I must take it back. Self-pollination should ideally happen more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the cross, but like again, our assumption is in one particular type of flower or one particular type of plant, only one type of pollination happens. That is not the case. In one particular plant or one particular flower, there can be self-pollination which can happen, or at the same time there can be cross-pollination which can happen as well. Yeah. So it depends on what are the situations favorable. It's like simple. A flower is bisexual, self-pollination can happen. But if that flower where it is located, if it has lot of wind or lot of insect, this flower is bound to undergo cross-pollination, right? It's as simple as that. So that way.
So no plant does occurs only one type of pollination?
There are quite a few plants which we'll see in the next part. So advantages, first one, the healthier offspring. Okay, that we already know. Same in
Sir,
silk. Yes, say it.
How do cactuses pollinate?
So cactuses, they also have certain structures which produce the gametes, and if not, they mostly undergo. So cactuses, they fall under these non-flowering plants. They do not produce gamete. That's what I mean to say. Like what we call vegetative propagation. That means if you break a part of cactus, put it in soil, that will grow. So that is what is vegetative propagation. They do not undergo sexual reproduction as such. Though there are few cactus species which flowers and they produce gametes and then they undergo the sexual reproduction. So, but there are, in general, majorly, if I say, cactus can be also reproduced via vegetative propagation. That means by breaking a part of the plant and put it in soil and it will grow. It's like rose twig or that jasmine twig you grow, or banyan twig you can grow by vegetative propagation.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the second advantage is the abundant and viable seeds which are produced. Again, the same point here, because the cross pollination, more like better genes are coming together, or rather the genes are coming together from various species. So whatever weaker characteristics are, they are getting diluted. The better characteristics, they are more present in more abundance, and that's why the viability of the seeds is increased. And of course, new varieties are produced by cross pollination, because two different varieties their characteristics are getting introduced into that particular offspring, and that way a new variety will be generated. So just for example, if you have ever seen grafting experiments, like some people, they do that. A white rose, they will take a twig from white rose, they will take a twig from red rose, and they will fuse it together by like cutting it slanting or oblique way, and they will stick those two sticks, tie it, put it in the soil, and whatever the new offsprings will be generated, or new plant which will be generated, can have both flowers, that is white as well as red, or it can have pink flower, depending on what are the situation. But that is still a new variety. Yes, someone has raised hand.
Yeah, sir. So if it's written that they are the same different plants but same species, right?
Sorry, come again.
So cross pollination is a transfer of pollen from the same plant from different plant but of the same species.
Correct. So mango can only pollinate mango tree, or guava tree can only pollinate guava tree. Can be located distant apart. That way.
Oh, okay.
And if there is only one mango tree and there the pollination is happening, that will be self-pollination.
Oh, okay.
And someone else also had raised.
But we can graft two different types of trees together, right?
Yes, we can, but not always to the good survival rate.
Oh, okay.
So you can try it just as an experiment. Take a banyan tree which is more sturdier, and take a mango tree which is even more sturdier. Sturdier in terms of they can grow anywhere in any random situation, right? And if you just tie their twig and see what grows, you will probably get an idea, right? Or any two random indigenous varieties, that should give you some clue. But I assume they may not grow that well. Like mango doesn't propagate vegetatively, banyan tree does. What else does? Neem does not. Guava does not. So like that way, flowering plants mostly they do germinate with their branch being put in the soil. Okay. Who was the second hand? Whose hand was it? किसका हाथ था बताओ प्रथम.
Oh, sir, that was for the.
Okay. Earlier point. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, sir. Me.
Yes, Anavi.
Yeah, so sir, if so sir, if like you take a lab, if you go to a lab and then you take like kinds of like different kinds of bees and then you try to pollinate them. So like you said, the white and the red rose. So it's not compulsory that it'll always pollinate, right?
So that particular part of the white and red rose that I was talking of, the vegetative propagation, where you are not doing pollination, but you are physically putting the pieces of the stems and then allowing them to grow into one stem. So that is grafting is little different than pollination. In pollination, if you take, let's say, pollen grain from white rose and put it on the red rose stigma, right? The pollination may not happen that way because like we discussed about that recognition of the pollen grains. So that way the pollination will be like mostly may not happen because these are not the same species as such.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, but in some of these species there is a chance that they do pollinate a little bit across the species. Across the species, as in again the same example, but just again a hypothetical one. But so that like a white flower, not the rose one, but white flower is there and the purple flower is there. And let's say if you put the pollen grains onto each other, either white to purple or purple to white, either ways, that will still produce a new offspring. So that also exists in nature, but there are certain like conditions related to it. Those pollen grains, they have to be recognized by the stigma, then only that can happen. Okay, so these were the different advantages. Now we'll just quickly look at the disadvantages. So pollination is dependent on the external factor and is not always certain. Now, this for cross-pollination to happen, the anthers, they need to be transferred from one place to the other because it's not on the same plant and neither on the same flower. It is on the different plant of the same species, which can be located a little away. And that way it will always need some external factor, what we call them as pollinating agent. Can be wind, can be birds, can be insects and so on, butterflies and all of them, right? So they will always need external factors. So if they are not there, the pollination is not certain. So cross pollination always is dependent on external factor. Second point, wastage of pollen grains. Now imagine if you need pollen grain to be fall onto stigma, which is such a tiny part, which is even on the next, like within 1 meter distance, still that will need quite a lot of pollen grain to, like it's like you pick up a peanut and target at one point, no? It's something like that. That will need quite a lot of pollen grains for that pollen grain to fall onto the stigma of the another plant. And that's why there will be a lot of wastage, or even for insects for that matter. Now insect is not like, they will not go from rose plant to rose plant always. They'll go from rose to jasmine to nishigandha to I don't know what not. Yeah, they might even sit on the leaves to if they have found something. So that way the pollen grains which are stuck to their body or legs, they will fall off at different places. So the chance of the pollen grain falling onto the stigma of the similar species flower is less. And that way there has to be lot of pollen grains which are required for the cross pollination in natural setup. Artificially, of course, it's much easier, but in natural setup, for that to happen on its own, we'll need lot of pollen grain, which is ultimately wastage. And that way it is uneconomical for plant, because then they have to, the flowers either needs to be large for wind pollination, or they have to be colorful or scented or produce nectar to attract the insects. So that becomes a disadvantage of the cross pollination. Okay, now any question here? I guess we can stop here with the content. So just a brief about these two types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. I have posted it here. You can go through it on your own. This is not so hard. So whatever points we have discussed, they are being put here just in a compiled format. So that way you can go ahead with this. Just read through it. If you don't understand anything, we can discuss it in the next class. And the next class we will start with this nature favors cross pollination. So the question of who someone had asked that question related to like why cross pollination or why self pollination. So that will be discussed here. Okay. Anyone has any question?